the increasing number of the patients. Now all of the department is into it. So that's why it's getting difficult for us to take a time the exact, like suppose your class is at 9, sometimes it get delayed by 10-15 minutes. So sorry for the delay. We'll be starting. Like this is one of the most common symptoms or common disease you will be encountering in your life. A lot of people will be saying, and whenever they are having throat pain, they will be saying to you like, I have tonsils or मुझे tonsil हो गया है. I'm feeling like ये problem मुझे अब lifelong रहेगी, and because of the lot of myths regarding this disease, and a lot of people self-medicate also. Like if they visit a doctor once or twice, then every time they have similar features, they will self-medicate without appointment or consultation on the doctor again. So first of all, what is the function of tonsil? They act as sentinels to guard against the foreign intruders like virus, bacteria, and other antigens coming into contact through the inhalation or ingestion. So there are two mechanisms by which tonsils act: providing local immunity and providing a surveillance mechanism so that entire body is prepared for defense. Both these mechanisms are operated through humoral and cellular immunity. So we have two types of tonsillitis. One is acute, other is chronic. In acute, we have different types of tonsillitis. Number one, like acute catarrhal or superficial tonsillitis. Here, tonsillitis is a part of generalized pharyngitis and mostly seen in viral infection. Then second is acute follicular tonsillitis, in which infection spreads into the crypts, which become filled with the purulent material presenting at the opening of the crypts as yellow spots. I will show you the pictures of the same. Then third is acute parenchymal tonsillitis. In this, tonsil substance is affected and tonsil is uniformly enlarged and red. Then acute membranous tonsillitis is stage ahead of acute follicular tonsillitis, where exudation from the crypts causes to form a membrane onto the surface of the tonsil. Then what is the etiology? It's basically affect the school-going children most, and it can affect adult also, and it's rarely seen in infant and persons who are above 50 years of age. The most common organism being hemolytic streptococcus and others being staphylococcus pneumonia and Haemophilus influenza. Symptoms, as you people might be knowing, sore throat, difficulty swallowing, fever, earache, and there are a few constitutional symptoms like headache, generalized body ache, malaise, and sometimes constipation also. The signs includes tongue is coated, then breath is coated, there is hyperemia of pillars, soft palate, uvula, tonsils are, as I told you, red and swollen with yellow spots of purulent material, and there's enlargement of the jugular-digastric lymph nodes. Treatment, first of all, bed rest is important. Then patient is allowed to take plenty of fluids. If patient is not able to take through mouth, they give it through the IV fluids. Then analgesics to reduce pain and inflammation. Antibacterial therapy includes penicillin. It's a drug of choice. If patient is allergic to penicillin, we give azithromycin. And nowadays we actually give a combination of amoxicillin and clavulanate. Amoxiclav, that comes in the dosage of 625 mg, with 500 being amox and 125 being clavulanate. And the complication of acute tonsillitis being chronic tonsillitis with the recurrent attacks of acute tonsillitis, then peritonsillar abscess, parapharyngeal abscess, cervical abscess due to separation of the jugular-digastric lymph nodes. Acute otitis media, that is because station tube is the organ which connects nasopharynx to the middle ear. So the infection can go from tonsil to nasopharynx and from there to middle ear and cause acute otitis media. Then we have rheumatic fever because it is in association with the group A beta hemolytic streptococci. Acute glomerulonephritis, which is rare these days, and subacute bacterial endocarditis. So the differential diagnosis is the membrane over the tonsil. So as I told, acute follicular tonsillitis can further progress to membranous tonsillitis, where there is exudative membrane over the medial surface of the tonsil along with the features of acute tonsillitis. There are a few more conditions where you will see the membrane over the tonsil. One is diphtheria, which is slower in onset with less discomfort, and the membrane diphtheria extend beyond the tonsil onto the soft palate and is dirty green color. It's quite adherent to the surface, and if we try to remove it, leaves a bleeding surface. Then we have engineered this incidence onset with less fever, less discomfort, and membrane forms over one tonsil can be removed easily, leaving a regular ulcer on the tonsil. Infectious mononucleosis, both the tonsils are very much enlarged in this congestion covered membrane. Local discomfort is marked. Lymph nodes are enlarged in the posterior triangle along with the splenomegaly. Then we have agranulocytosis, in which it presents with ulcerative necrotic lesion, not only on the tonsils but even in the oropharynx also, and patient is severely ill in this condition. And we have aphthous ulcer. It involves any part of the oral cavity or pharynx. Sometimes it's solitary and may involve tonsils and pairs. It is small or it can be quite large and it's very painful. So, how to make the diagnosis? First, you should be taking good history, then physical examination, total and differential counts, and blood smears, polytypical cells, throat swab and culture, biopsy, other tests being Paul Bunel test or monospore test, and biopsy of the lesion. Chronic tonsillitis, it can be a complication of acute tonsillitis, like subclinical infection of tonsils without an acute attack. It mostly affects children and young adults, and chronic infection in sinuses or teeth may be predisposing factor. Chronic tonsillitis also have different types, like chronic follicular tonsillitis. Where tonsil crypts are full of infected cheesy material, which shows on the surface as yellow spots. Chronic parenchymatous tonsillitis, where there is hyperplasia of the lymph node tissue, and tonsils are very much enlarged, which may interfere with the speech, degradation, and respiration. And we have chronic fibrotonsils. Here, tonsils are small.
Sir, you are not audible.
So the clinical features of the chronic tonsillitis, like recurrent attacks of sore throat, then chronic irritation in the throat with cough, bad taste in the mouth with foul breath, then thick speech or difficulty in swallowing, choking, smells in the night because of the large size of tonsils. Examinations, examination. Tonsils may show varying degree of enlargement. There may be yellowish beads of pus on the mid surface of the tonsil. Tonsils are small, but the pressure on the anterior express produce frank pus or cheesy material, especially in case of chronic fiber type. Then flushing of the anterior pillars compared to the rest pharyngeal mucosa. Flushing of the anterior pillars means reddish discoloration. It's more of the congested. Then enlargement of the jugular diastole lymph nodes. It's a reliable sign of chronic tonsillitis. In treatment, always first is conservative. That is attention to the general health, diet, treatment of coexisting infection of teeth, nose, sinuses. Tonsillitis is indicated when it interferes with the speech, degradation, respiration, or causes recurrent attacks. Complication because of chronic tonsillitis, again peritonsillar abscess, parapharyngeal abscess, intertonsillar abscess, tonsillolith, tonsillosis, and focus of infection of rheumatic fever, acute glomerulonephritis. So these are your pictures. You can see this is your parenchymatous. Then acute follicular tonsillitis. You can see the yellow spots over the tonsils, which are your pus beads. Again, acute follicular tonsillitis. So one of the most common treatment when the patient is not getting relief is tonsillectomy. So what are the indication of tonsillectomy? They are divided into absolute indication and your relative indications. So absolute being recurrent infection of the throat, which means 7 or more episodes in a year, 5 or more episodes in 2 years, 3 episodes per year for last 3 years, and 2 weeks or more lost school work in 1 year. Then peritonsillar abscess. ठीक है, ओके ओके देवेश एंड मैम दूसरा क्या होता है सुमित ठीक है ठीक है ओके Akash, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Just wait a minute. I got a call actually.
Okay, sir.
Because so I was telling about the indications of tonsillectomy. Absolute being the most common is recurrent infection of the throat, where 7 or more episodes in 1 year, 5 episodes per year for 2 years, 3 episodes per year for 3 years, then 2 or more 2 weeks or more of law school or work in a year. Then peritonsillar abscess, tonsillitis, which cause febrile seizures, hypertrophy of the tonsils, causing airway obstruction, difficult declaration, interference with speech, and suspicion of malignancy. Then relative indication being diphtheria carriers, streptococcal carriers, chronic tonsillitis, and as a part of another operation like palatopharyngoplasty, glossopharyngeal and removal of the steroid process. So what are the contraindications? When the hemoglobin level is less than 10, presence of acute infection in the upper respiratory tract and even in acute tonsillitis, because bleeding will be more in case of acute infection. Then children under 3 years, because they are at poor surgical risk, and if there is presence of some mucosal, cleft palate, that is overt or some mucus. In case of bleeding disorders, because there are already chances of bleeding during the surgery, and some problem is there in the bleeding, this clotting mechanism like leukemia or your aplastic anemia, then it will be a problem during the surgery to stop the bleeding. Then at the time of the epidemic of the polio, in case of uncontrolled systemic disease like diabetes, cardiac disease, hypertension, because we want general anesthesia, and in cases of these comorbidities, it becomes difficult to administer the general anesthesia because we want LFT, liver function test, KFT, kidney function test to be normal. But in these cases, it's difficult to get them in the normal range. Then anesthesia, I told it's under general anesthesia. Then position is rose position, where the patient lies supine with head extended by placing a pillow under the shoulders. A rubber ring is placed under the head to stabilize it, and hyperextension should always be avoided. So these are the methods of tonsillectomy. Cold methods and hot methods. Now, cold method include dissection snare, it's the most common. Then your intracapsular tonsillectomy with debrider, harmonic scalpel, plasma mediated ablation or dissection technique, cryosurgical technique. And hot methods includes using the electrocautery, laser tonsillectomy, and radio frequency. And the complication, as I told, one of the most feared complication is hemorrhage. There are three types actually: primary, reactionary, and one is after 5 to 7 days. The primary, it occurs at the time of the operation only. It can be controlled by pressure, ligation, electrocoagulation of the bleeding vessels. Reactionary hemorrhage, it occurs within a period of 24 hours and can be controlled by simple measures such as remove the clot, application of pressure, and vasoconstriction. Injury to the tonsillar pillar, uvula, soft palate, tongue, or superior constrictor muscle due to bad surgical technique. Then injury to teeth, aspiration of blood or facial edema. Then delayed, as I told, it's secondary hemorrhage, which is seen between the 5th to 10th post-operative day. Its result, and the cause is sepsis and the premature separation of the membrane. The infection of the tonsillar fossa is one of the complications. Then lung complication because of aspiration of blood, mucus, and scarring in the soft tissue of the soft palate and pilars. So this was very brief about your tonsillitis and the surgical technique. You will be having another class when you get into your 7th term regarding the surgical techniques. You will be shown if at all OTs are open that time, because can't say when we'll be having normal OTs. You guys have how many class over for you people? Akash?
Yes, sir.
How many classes are over for you in this posting?
Sir, it's started from I think 9th May and continued till now.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, this was very brief. If it was some normal OPD timings or normal hospital timings, it would have been very different teaching experience for you. But as of now, it's going as the same like lectures. Even we can't help it. So you'll be having class again tomorrow. Okay. I hope you have
Sir,
given your time.
yes, sir. Is there any chance of opening of college any soon?
No idea, man. Because I don't know how much you people are knowing, but GTV is now the Center for Mucormycosis or Black Fungus Treatment. So we are getting patients from all over the adjoining areas and Ghaziabad, Meerut, whatever the nearby places, and we are filled to the capacity now. Initially, it started like with our single ward of 32 patients. Now we have some 90 patients. So it's getting difficult for us to manage actually. Either we will be getting residents from the other department, or will be telling the authorities that we cannot take uh, more patients with a single department. Like it has to be the coordinated approach with other department. So as of now, I don't think for next 1 month or so you will be having the normal hospitals.
Sir, because
Okay,
online
because
not helping that much.
we are also having the same what do you say feeling as you are having, because what it was for the other batches, even I think for your batch also, one or two batches were they were coming in the wards. So there it is altogether different experience to see the patient and to have interactive teaching. We can show the instruments, we can show you the patients, but this is something that has been decided by authority. Unfortunately, these three centers like our hospital, UCMS, then MAMC, these are dedicated. First, they were dedicated to COVID centers, and now they are dedicated to mucormycosis centers. Others hospital they are easing down on the COVID cases. They might resume sooner than us, but what is going to happen to our hospital can't say as of now. We have wrote to the MS that because it's a teaching hospital, at least burden should be given to the non-teaching hospitals so that undergraduates and postgraduates they can learn, because they are also simply doing that COVID duties. Let's see what happens.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I have a doubt.
चलेगा sir, bro.
चल गए भाई सर तो।
चल कोई नहीं।
आकाश को बोल दे।
क्या खत्म हो गई क्लास?
अटेंडेंस का कोई